I remember Abdul. It was one of my first speaking experiences for Youth Frontiers in around 2002. And I remember being in Evergreen Elementary in a gymnasium, staring at the clock on the wall, watching the second hands slowly make their way around, tick, tick, tick. For me, this was going to be one of my first talks that I was going to give in front of a live audience, and I was nervous. I instantly knew when it came to the time that I had to give my talk that I was in way over my head. I started talking, but they could tell that I was struggling, which meant they couldn't stop wiggling, and the teachers are no doubt judging, and my face is intensely sweating when I looked up. And when I did, I made eye contact with the young student whose name tag I read said Abdul. I don't know, it was like one of those things where there was this voice in my soul that just said, Joe, connect. And so I did the only thing I knew to do in that moment. I held his eyes a little bit longer than normal. I gave him a small little smile, one that said, I see you, brother. Afterwards, I was connecting with Abdul's teachers, and they told me that it had been a very difficult year for him, and it had been a struggle to even get a smile on his face some days. I remember as we were walking out of the auditorium, the gymnasium that day, I made eye contact with him one more time, and I walked over to him, and I got down on a knee, and I just put my hand on his shoulder, and beaming smile on his face, a beaming smile on my face, and he just says, Mr. Joe, you make my heart so happy. Now, nearly 15 years later, I haven't seen Abdul since that time. Yet I reached out to him on Facebook because I'd never forgotten about him. And I said, hey dude, I don't know if you remember me, but around 15 years ago, I'd led a retreat at your school for a company called Youth Frontiers, and you made a huge impact on me, and I've never forgotten about it. Would you be willing to meet me for coffee? And he said yes. Abdul's now 24 years old. And I said, hey, what are you up to? And he said, I'm working for this organization called Youth Frontiers. And I said, no way, that's the company that I was working for when I led that retreat so many years ago. He's doing the same work, inspiring the same kind of kids. And I believe all of that started with a spark from our Youth Frontiers retreat from many years ago.